Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about profiles and excellence, and we were just highlighting and reflecting back on the year. Jonathan, I'm going to throw it over to you to give us sort of a top line looking back. I know ServiceNow has been implementing all kinds of fantastic capabilities across the federal sector. Give us a highlight.
Well, thanks, Luke. You're right. ServiceNow is working across the federal government doing various kinds of digital transformation projects. We were working at over 350 different federal government organizations at this point on, really complex topics around homeland security and immigration, healthcare, finance. We do a lot of case management work. Our low-code platform has really taken off during this past year. There's a particular project that I want to talk about for a couple of minutes. Something that we worked on with the Office of the Inspector General at HHS over the past year. HHS's OIG is the largest OIG in the government. They published 150 reports last fiscal year. They have 1,400 plus open recommendations looking at the various HHS programs like Medicare and Medicaid and work at FDA and NIH. So it's a really complex organization, and they want to increase the transparency and make sure that the impact of their work is really well known. And one of the ways they do that is by publishing reports and evaluations. And then out of those reports and evaluations come recommendations. Those recommendations have a lot of great information for the HHS operating divisions to take and apply into their processes and in how they run their programs. Now, this was a very manual process. All of us have probably worked with OIGs in the past, and there was a very email spreadsheet driven kind of approach to managing this information, responding to recommendations. So the HHS OIG office used ServiceNow to digitize this process, and their legacy technologies that they used were disconnected. They were from the early 2000s, and it was a very siloed approach. So, we have a lot of activity, ServiceNow does at HHS. And we did something like this with CMS in the past. And HHS OIG was able to build on top of that to take advantage of ServiceNow's low-code platform to digitize their processes across the entirety of the organization. And while the technology isn't necessarily the hard part in some of these projects, we can all acquire these tools and build them the right way. It's really thinking through how the work and the data flows for these different business processes that HHS had. And as they, reevaluated and redesigned some of these things and did the right change management, they were able to come up with a really elegant solution for agencies to respond to recommendations. So getting rid of cutting and pasting from one system into another, that the quote unquote swivel chair interface is going away. And they're able to use all of the data they have now on the ServiceNow platform to create dashboards that make it very easy for OIG leadership, for the department, operating divisions to understand the current status of their work, how many open recommendations there are, how many recommendations they have by operating division, so on and so forth. So you can really become very focused, and you can understand where the risk is in the organization. And they very nicely integrated. We will help them integrate this application with login.gov, so it's accessible by the whole of the department. Of course, we separate the data appropriately, but there's a new way of doing work around these really critical business processes the OIG runs because of ServiceNow. And we're really proud of this work. And it's an example that I know other offices of the Inspector General are looking at and perhaps want to follow. And, really, if we can do anything, and we look back at anything on this project by making this information available and eventually integrating it with oversight.gov, which tracks OIG activities across government, and being able to eventually make this information appropriately available to the public. We're increasing the transparency, we're increasing across government and to the public, and we're really building trust. And when we can use our technologies to make data more accessible, we've already heard that a little bit here today, and we're able to make good decisions based on that data, we were building a better government. And, I'm
That's
really
absolutely. It's a
part of that kind
win-win-win.
of opportunity. Absolutely.
Win-win-win when you get into that situation. And I love the fact that so many agencies now really ringing the bell on login.gov. It's just a staple out there. Nick, you all have been involved in a lot of different implementations, aligning up to various goals that these various CIOs have. Give us an example, if you will, of where you've been able to line up and help one of these agencies achieve their goal.
Thanks, Luke. Reflecting on this and preparing for our broadcast, we've got to say that we're very pleased to be with this group today and very proud to partner with each of these agencies as they continue to pursue their transformation and modernization efforts, especially in these particularly tumultuous times. So we've been working across the government to help affect the data strategies and modernization initiatives across agencies and help them adopt a cloud model for enterprise data management and achieve a seamless, frictionless data leverage and data service mechanism to support department and agency operations, while meeting security and environmental goals as well. So the benefits to modern technology is obviously it delivers a more efficient, more responsive capability to enable government agencies to perform their operations and their missions more efficiently and more effectively. So focus that we've seen this year in review has continue to revolve around modernization and innovation because those are never-ending efforts. But security has once again come to the forefront, especially around ransomware mitigation and cybersecurity resiliency. And those have been tremendous focus efforts this year for us, especially in our healthcare customer space. So I kind of wanted to call out two particular agencies in this regard. The Defense Health Agency and the Veterans Administration have been two particularly active areas for us around both data protection and resiliency, as well as enterprise transformation and modernization. We partnered with DHA to help them create sort of a holistic on-premises, off-premises data architecture and infrastructure to support their modernization efforts, particularly around modernizing their data protection, as well as integration with the VAs and DHA's electronic health records maintenance. So, and when you take a look at the total patient population between those two agencies, it's a staggering amount of data, and it's distributed across the country and around the globe. So helping them create a modernized environment that lets them, without really having to think about it, seamlessly and frictionlessly move data between on-premises nodes and off-premises nodes, and adhering to HIPAA and high-tech, and then protecting those data sets against external threats has been a tremendous challenge, and I want to applaud them for their initiative and starting to think holistically about their data enterprise. It's not just one thing, but a mechanism for generating tremendous data leverage across all of their customer base and all of their agencies. And we've done something fundamentally different. Obviously, we've got a reputation as an on-premises data service platform company, but obviously we also have a tremendous amount of cloud-enabled capability for enabling our customers to leverage data wherever, whenever, and however they want to. But we've also changed the business model for service delivery on that. So now we have everything available as a service, which really has gone a long way to meeting the government's desire to do more subscription-based consumption of infrastructure and not locking themselves into, a CapEx investment that may continue to degrade over time and incur higher sustainment costs and technical debt. So enabling agencies to innovate, modernize, and maintain a level of modernization over time without any additional effort or cost has been fundamentally transformational for a lot of our customers as well. So we're excited to see this approach to data as the core of the strategy for IT modernization, as well as the adoption of subscription mechanisms for consumption. And that's been a huge transformation, because 10 years ago, if you said subscription services as opposed to CapEx to a government contracting officer, they wouldn't really know how to proceed.
Yeah,
And now it's really becoming the acquisition mechanism for services across the board. And
absolutely. So that consumption-based model is certainly here to stay. There's no question about that. And what a massive sort of undertaking when you're talking about DoD, et cetera. So really do appreciate that. We are going to go to top two priorities. Sylvia, I'm going to start with you. Top two priorities for FDIC.
Absolutely. So I'll bucket
Next
them
year.
in. Yeah, I'll bucket them in. The two top priorities are, one, we are going to continue to shore up our foundation, the IT foundation. So that includes both, the infrastructure and kind of the way we do our business. So we're adopting Agile DevSecOps and trying to implement kind of CI/CD tool chains, to automate delivery. I think Anne was talking about that earlier. So all that is part of like just ensuring that we're operating on a rock solid foundation. The second priority is really about continuing to modernize the business, right? The business through the technologies they use. So to support that. We have a number of critical projects that we have on our list. I mentioned some of the mission areas that we work with. Each one of them are on their own journeys to modernize their business. And, we want to be side by side with them and are side by side with them to really support whatever they're trying to do with the technology. So it's really those two things at a high level.
Sort of modernizing in a modern way and really sort of setting the stage there. I love it. And I'm sure your examiners, et cetera, love it as well. Jonathan, top priority, you're getting these different demand signals from various customers. Top priority for ServiceNow next year?
Well, I think it's going to be really a focus on something, we're calling total experience or service experience. So we think about the executive order on customer experience and the president's management agenda's focus on customers. And we think about supporting federal employees in the PMA. And then the idea that employee experience and customer experience are two different things, I think really, it's all about your perspective. When you're an employee, you're a customer of HR, you're a customer of the agency. It's really about what it's like when you get a service as a customer. And you add in user experience, you add in the multiple channels that you can get the experience, whether it's on a mobile device, in an office setting, in a web browser, however it is. And you think about the combination of ways that we serve public or we serve our employees. And I think you end up looking at things a little differently, less segmented. It's all about creating great experiences and making sure that people have what they need to do their jobs. And it's always been a focus of ServiceNow, but I think it's going to be an even greater focus. ServiceNow does what ServiceNow does really well is it connects things. It connects people, it connects organizations, it connects data. We take these concepts and we can apply them not just in one kind of service delivery. We can really raise that view up from providing service to an employee, which is of course very important, or a customer, to be thinking about how do large segments of an agency or the public receive service from one or more organizations in an agency or across government, and use the ServiceNow platform as a connective tissue across these, big challenging initiatives to make sure that people have what they need, they're well served. And when you have those great experiences, we're back to building trust. You're creating moments that really matter for people, and they begin to view government, they begin to view agencies.
Right. Really focusing on that sort of whole experience.
That's always That's always been and will continue to be a tremendous focus for our team at ServiceNow.
Fantastic. I really do appreciate that. And top two priorities at the Department of Energy this year.
Luke, that is always such a hard question to get down.
I know.
I tell you all about.
We're only going to give you two.
I know. I will only give you two because I go back about all the things we already talked about. So I'm going to talk about two things that are a little different. Right, number one is workforce. And you've already heard this from the other panelists in different ways. But we're really doubling down on building our workforce, just like everyone else in the federal government. We have a lot of people who are approaching retirement age. We have the national labs who are doing just absolutely key research and NNSA that is trying to secure our environment. And we've got to find that cyber talent in very remote areas. If you look at the map of where DOE sites are, most of them aren't sitting in major cities. They're not in places where you think that's where tech talent migrates to. So I got to get people to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Idaho Falls, Idaho, and places that are a little harder. So we've created a number of efforts. One is we have an internship called the Omni Internship Alliance, where we place students across the DOE enterprise, and they're paid internships. We know the government has this habit of giving unpaid internships, and
nice.
That doesn't help us hire underrepresented minorities, doesn't help us hire women. So we really want to get those paid internships out there, and make sure that students have housing in places like Santa Fe, New Mexico, that they can get to places like Santa Fe, because they often don't have cars. So we've got to figure out a way to get them there, for them to be able to get around, for them to have housing. And so we wrap around all those services into that internship for 10 weeks in the summer, and then we bring them every year back to a different site. So the goal is to have them go to 3 different organizations for 3 years. And then at the end, we sponsor them for clearance. So they're ready to come to work for the federal government in a security position or another position that requires a clearance. So that's a huge part of what we're doing in terms of developing our workforce. We have lots of other people development things going on, but that's the most exciting thing in workforce development. I think the other thing I'm going to go back to in priorities is innovation. We've really doubled down our innovation efforts. We're working with the White House to expand our work on Justice 40 for delivering tools and capabilities. We're doing a lot of work in AI, which is getting traction not only in DOE, but our team that's doing some AI applications has actually been sharing that with a number of other departments and agencies, including some that are on this call, who've asked us to share our work. And I think that that's just the power of the federal government. It is that I can build an application and I can share it with one of my colleagues. And that's true across government. We shouldn't just share it with the federal government. We should be sharing across government in general. And so I'll lead in a little bit and say that is the other piece. We're really trying to work across the interagency, across international partners, to share our capabilities and to really become more successful as an enterprise, a government enterprise.
Sure, that's stellar. I love to hear the sharing of that type of knowledge, talent, and technical capability. We're going to take another short break. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on the Federal News Network.